What's happening, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Great People TV with me, Ben Ibrahim, and our international superstar co-host Sylvia Yu Friedman, or AKA Sylvia Yu, or AKA Sil. Sil, what's happening in your part of the world, and how are you? Are you well and safe?
I'm doing great. I went on this 3 hour hike yesterday. I'm sore all over. It was a mental health day, and I urge everyone to be kind to yourself.
Yes. Well, Sil, well, please be kind to yourself and maybe book yourself in for a sports massage or something this week. But while you're making that appointment, don't forget everyone to please like and follow our social media handles, which is Great People TV, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And I know I keep saying this 2005 times, but I'll say it once again. More content coming on the Great People TV LinkedIn page in most likely July 2022. We are a startup. We are a lot of fun people trying to bring great people together to inspire you all. So, Sylvia, the reason I selected you is not just because of your wonderful good looks and because of your big brain, but because of your big contacts. So, who have you put together a very interesting topic tonight, one that we can all relate to in this part of the
Hmm.
world, but you brought in two very solid guests who could really educate us about this topic, tonight. So, please take it
Yeah,
away.
absolutely. So it's a special episode where, since the pandemic began, Asian communities across North America have been gripped with fear because of the rise in hate crimes against them. And we're joined by two influential women, Dr. Gina Wong and Katherine Ho. They have been active in fighting Asian racism, Asian hate. Gina Wong, Dr. Gina Wong, is a Canadian psychologist, professor, best-selling author, international speaker, Asian leadership consultant. She's also the founder and chairperson of the Asian Gold Ribbon Campaign, a platform that's raising awareness against Asian hate and racism. Katherine Ho is best known for her Mandarin cover of Coldplay's Yellow, one of my favorite songs. And it had over 20 million streams across all platforms. And she's lent her voice to several prestigious commercials, TV, films celebrating Asian and Pacific Islander identity. So, welcome, you ladies, lovely ladies. And you have certainly shaped history, shaped generations with your body of work, your activism. I wanted to ask, and I think Katherine, if you could share with us how your identity as an Asian American and your upbringing, how has that affected what you're doing and what you've done so far?
Yeah, thank you so much. First of all, I just want to say thank you so much for having me on your show. It's such an honor to be considered a for this show and for Great People TV. So it's a big honor. And yeah, to answer
Pleasure.
your question, my upbringing and my Asian American identity had a tremendous impact on my work today. For one, I definitely wouldn't have had the courage or resources to pursue a career in entertainment and music if not for the amazing support of my parents. And I know there's a stereotype that a lot of Asian parents don't necessarily want their kids going into creative fields for work, but my parents were never like that. They were always so supportive of me doing music. They put me in voice lessons when I was 9. And even
Wow.
though my parents are not musicians at all, they work in STEM. They spent a lot of time when I was younger helping me find a talent manager and driving me to auditions, just like doing so much research on the internet of like how to break into music, etc. And yeah, they're just always the first ones that I play my songs to or I perform for. So I'm so grateful for their support there. And I also went to Chinese school from a young age. I'm Chinese American. My parents immigrated to the United States for graduate school, and in order to just continue learning about my culture and my language. They put me in this weekly Saturday school class every every week when I was younger. And every year when I was 5 up until I graduated high school, I would sing or dance to Mandarin music every year in my city's annual Lunar New Year show. And it was the skills that I acquired from these performances with my Chinese school every year that really helped me to sing in Mandarin and ultimately prepared me to succeed when I auditioned for Crazy Rich Asians. And Crazy Rich Asians was the first film in over 25 years at the time to feature a majority Asian cast. And because of that, it's led to so many amazing opportunities to continue working on projects that center on AAPI identity. So I would definitely say that my upbringing and cultural background had a huge impact on my music career.
Yeah, no, that's so heartwarming. Thank you so much, Catherine. Crazy Rich Asians really broke through in so many ways. Dr. Gina Wong, how about you? How has your Asian Canadian identity propelled you and shaped what you do and what you're doing?
Thanks so much, Sylvia. I just first want to say what a great pleasure and honor it is for me to be here with you and Ben and to share the stage with Catherine. Yeah, it's just such a distinct honor. So, I was born in Montreal, Canada, to Chinese immigrant parents, and for me, I had very distinct experiences of anti-Asian racism starting at the age of 5. About 4 or 5 years old, actually, I would say, so quite young, early in my memories, experiencing lots of, you know, kids pulling at their eyes to imitate my Chinese eyes and, calling me a chink and actually spitting and kicking and chasing me. Throughout grade one, I remember that. And it was last year when I was doing some media through my university around the Atlanta shootings, where 8 individuals were murdered, 6 of them Asian women. And I started to talk in media about anti Asian racism. And a lot of people were asking me about my own experiences. And I was saying out loud for the first time, national TV about these experiences that I'd never ever said out loud. So it started my own processing or reprocessing of the trauma that happened to me. And I remember sitting one day thinking the difference it would have made to me if there was pride in being Asian back when I was young, and if there was visible solidarity. So I had this idea of gold ribbons. And Catherine, I don't think you know this, but my very first Facebook post about this idea of the Asian gold ribbon, I had set it to your Mandarin version of yellow. And I said, wouldn't it be amazing to have Catherine Ho sing and to have a world where we showed visible demonstration of solidarity wearing these gold ribbons on Asian Gold Ribbon Day? And, so my past impacted, and I have 2 daughters. They're mixed race. And I just thought the idea of them going through some of the experiences that I did, I, I couldn't see a world where that should be possible. So that was my inspiration through my own experiences of racism growing up.
Well, that's really, thank you for both for sharing those very personal and heartwarming stories, and that's what makes Great People TV so authentic. We're not scripted. We're not anything. We're asking our guests to speak from the heart, and you both have done that. But I mean, I'm from Malaysia and Southeast Asia, and from this part of the world, our lens through the North American view is basically obviously through YouTube, obviously through newspapers and media, traditional and non-traditional, and obviously the Hollywood movies. Okay, and the Hollywood are quite reflective of what's going on in the world. Over the last couple of years since the pandemic, we've heard about Black Lives Matter, quite a bit because it's especially during the Trump administration. So we know how tough that was. But how tough is the attitude towards Asians in North America in general? And I just want to sort of qualify the second part of that question. Speaking about Hollywood, in Hollywood, they always speak about black versus blue, which is police brutality versus the African American Canadian communities. What's the second part of that question? What's the police attitude towards Asian citizens, or American-born Chinese or Asian-born Chinese who are living in North America? So just because we're just trying to get a sense check in terms of How? I mean, we know it's challenging, but how challenging? Dr. Gina, I'll go with you first, and then I'll go with Catherine.
Ben, you have two-part question that always confuses me. But the first question that you asked was about how bad is it, I think.
Or how tough
And
is it? I don't want to be. I don't
how
want to say.
tough is it?
Yeah, I don't want to say sound too negative. Yeah,
Yeah. How tough is it? Asian Canadian, Asian American, Pacific Islanders
yeah,
are really, really suffering. As a psychologist from a mental health perspective, you know, the increase in suicidality, I'll go right to that, with race based traumatic stress has a detrimental impact to our lives. And I think about, New York City this year had a couple of major tragedies. So Michelle Go was pushed onto the train tracks and, to her death simply for being an Asian woman. And another woman, Christina Yuna was followed into her home in Chinatown and brutally murdered. She was stabbed to death. And again, simply because she is an Asian woman. So, it's devastating. And the numbers support that. Hate crimes, unfortunately, I think that we know some of the model minority and why speak out, don't make any waves. In Cantonese, it's the word yun, and it means to hold in and just soldier on. And so that stops people from actually reporting. So our hate crimes, the the level of hate crimes reported don't actually demonstrate the real statistics of what's going on. So it's devastating. So that would be my first answer. Do you want to go to Catherine, or do you want me to answer the
no,
second
I think
question?
yeah, I think you've answered that quite well, and you've answered it from the mental health psychologist perspective. Catherine, what's your view as a based on the same question as an entertainer, as a younger person, living this very challenging world of Asian hate crimes in your part of the world?
Yeah, so I grew up in the United States, and I definitely feel like there's a lot of similar themes with what was going on in Canada and what's been going on in the United States. I did look up some statistics, and it was really shocking to hear, but there was a 339% increase in anti-Asian hate crimes in the United States in 2021, according to NBC News. And also, according to Status, which is a social Asian Americans sorry, I need to get this acronym right. Social tracking of Asian Americans in the US. In 2022, there was 21% of Americans agreed that Asian Americans were at least partially responsible for COVID-19. And really interestingly, this was actually up from 11% of Americans in 2021. And it's really disturbing to think that even though our society is beginning to ease out of the pandemic, the resentment towards Asian Americans continues to rise. And I think this has direct implications for the safety and health of Asian Americans everywhere. And kind of touching to your second question, I think all minorities in this country, we can all benefit from supporting one another. Um, I feel like we each go through our own types of struggles. Maybe police brutality is not as prominent of an issue in the Asian American community, but I think it's so important to have that solidarity across all minorities and people of color because, we all are struggling with the effects of white supremacy and can all just support each other. So I really appreciate you making that context and making that connection.
No
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I'm gonna
Gina, yeah,
say,
Gina, tell me about the how you have been standing in solidarity and mobilizing people, mobilizing awareness to fight Asian hate crimes and racism. Can you fill us in and feel free to add more context as needed because it still is so jarring. I just was scrolling through Instagram yesterday and was read Crizel Lim. She's an influencer, and she was saying how she's afraid more afraid of attacks, of racist attacks, because she's moved somewhere else, and it's just so shocking, because I'm not in North America. I'm in Hong Kong. Ben is in Malaysia. So yeah, please fill us in on how you've been standing, and I would love to hear if there's time. Why is this extraordinary?
Hmm. Thanks, Sylvia. It is a daily concern. I worry about my family and my friends and myself. I have this sort of, corner of my eye vigilance. And, particularly when I stand at our LRT station, that's our train station, and think about what that might have been like. So vicarious trauma, secondary trauma is definitely part of my own experience. So the Asian Gold Ribbon campaign, thank you so much for asking about that. It's been actually, my experience as a psychologist and a professor. I have no idea, about nonprofit organizations or doing anything of that kind of work, but I was really inspired. And I would say it wasn't something I did. It was something that I had to do. It was born out of this place of like, in where we are today in our time, we need to have this fight. We need to stand together to support healing. We need to amplify Asian voices. We need to educate to raise awareness, and also to celebrate the beauty of the Asian culture and the heritage. And really, what I wanted was this worldwide uniting in solidarity against all forms of racism. And in my lens, it's against anti-Asian racism. And amazingly, over the 6-week period when we first started, we reached 32.25 million people across 80 countries in 6 weeks. And we had Samuel L. Jackson and Andrew Fung, wear our masks. And, that to me was incredible. I had no idea. And I connected with Katherine last year. So I want to tell you very quickly about the reason it's called the Asian Gold Ribbon Campaign. So, with the 19th century legislated racism against East Asians, so Chinese in particular, the stereotype of the yellow peril came about. So, the yellow peril was one of the stereotypes that was raised to thwart immigration of Chinese into Canada and into the United States, sort of portraying that we are disease carriers, virus, dirty, yellow people that would taint the purity of North America. So I selected gold because gold is a celebratory color of yellow. And when I contacted Katherine, and the whole idea behind, the color yellow and the song Yellow that was originally done by Coldplay, they didn't really know about this, but I know, the director, John Chua for Crazy Rich Asians, really reached out to them and said it had great meaning to him because yellow was such a denigrated way, putting him down when he was young. And so he was hoping that, he could use that song. And then, of course, Katherine, amazing award-winning, song, and I could listen to it forever. So, so that's the background of the reason why it's called the Asian Gold Ribbon Campaign. And we're continuing on. We have in Canada 286% increase of children. So between the ages of zero to 18 years of age, from 2020 to 2021. So it is affecting our youth. It's affecting this new generation, and, to focus on that and to bring awareness and them to speak out as well is so important to me. So thanks
Yeah,
for asking.
no. No, I love what you're doing. I wish I had this when I was younger because, like you, I've experienced humiliating racism that scarred me, and I'm glad I went through it because I am a staunch anti-racism advocate, and there's racism in Asia, man. And I'm glad we're talking about this because we can begin to address this as well in our way. I mean, in Hong Kong and Malaysia and in this region, we're the majority. So that's why it's important that we talk about this so that we can help translate what's going on over there in the West to the folks here in Asia. And that's what Ben does best with Great People TV, bridging East and West. So, Katherine, how about you? How have you mobilized? How have you stood in solidarity with the Asian communities against these hate crimes? Which is, the mobilizing is extraordinary. The political activism is extraordinary because we have for decades been the model minority in the West, and we've never peeped discontent. Police see us as, like, the model citizens. And so this wave of activism, this political activism, is really inspiring. And you and Dr. Gina have been at the forefront. So please share with us, what have you been involved in, and what does it mean to you?
Yeah, definitely. So, I would say that as a singer, something I've really noticed is that um, just how inextricably linked media and entertainment and social justice really do go hand in hand. And even though I kind of came into the music industry just because I love to sing, I feel really inspired seeing um, AAPI entertainers that I look up to a lot, speaking up on social justice issues facing our community and really using their platforms and dollars to support causes that fight inequality and raise issues affecting the AAPI community. And I think just through being around such a inspiring community like that, I've learned so much. And I really hope that I can follow in their footsteps and continue using my platform, though small, to continue supporting social justice and public health issues that I care about. And it's been really meaningful for me to perform and partner with different events and fundraisers by organizations that combat anti Asian hate. Two of my most dear to my heart are Hate is a Virus and Act to Change. Hate is a Virus is an organization that was founded during the pandemic, sort of in response to everything that was going on with COVID and the spike of anti-Asian hate related to that. Act to Change is focused on AAPI, LGBTQ plus and immigrant youth, and is an anti-bullying campaign. So I just feel so grateful and honored to be in a position that I can learn through these mentors of mine and contribute my voice to their events and fundraisers. And I hope to continue doing so in the future.
Thank you so much for all you're doing.
Thank you.
So, I mean, we're all just taking a pause here because the work that you both have done, and also Sylvia, give yourself credit. Sylvia does a lot of work for this as well in a different genre with her campaigns and social justice campaigns. And how I met Sylvia was that she was a guest on our show talking about anti-sex slavery, and that was just ironically our Chinese New Year episode this year for Great People TV. So it was Kong Si Fa Choi with a lot of prosperity in terms of wealth of knowledge that she shared with us that particular episode. So same question, but I'm going to ask it differently. Dr. Gina, what is the next step in terms of this? I always like to use the word evolution, but what is the next step in this challenge? This is something that's not going to be fixed overnight, over 1 month, over 1 year. It's a continuous, let's be honest, it's a continuous frustrating education. So what needs to be done there so that, the numbers will go down, the crime numbers will go down, and hopefully one day, my vision of this is that we will see the word race as only associated with the phrase 100-meter race, nothing else, nothing
Hmm.
more.
Hmm. Hmm. Well, that's $1 million question. How do we do that? Um, first, I just want to say, Sylvia, I thought about you this morning when I put on this Chinese. I don't know if it's a cheongsam, but I got this in Vancouver,
Beautiful.
Chinatown, and I thought, oh, that's
You,
for Sylvia. It's from
yeah,
Vancouver, so
you look gorgeous.
proudly wearing it. Thank you. So Ben, for me personally and professionally, so as a psychologist, one of the things I'm really working towards, we're developing a center for Asian mental health and well-being in Canada. Currently, we don't have accessible, affordable, integrated, culturally specific, language appropriate, and sexually affirming mental health services in Canada. So that's really what I'm working towards and looking for and support from government levels. And also, it's really important. One of the things that we pride ourselves on in the Asian Gold Ribbon campaign is that we have lit structures in Canada on Asian Gold Ribbon Day, which is May 20th. So we've had the Toronto sign, the Niagara Falls, we've had the Burrard Bridge, all lit in gold on Asian Gold Ribbon Day. And it would be wonderful to have worldwide Asian Gold Ribbon Day and lit structures and this pride and solidarity really that, goes global. So that would be a really, great way to continue to move forward. And I think just the education, the visibility in schools. We had a program this year where it's not just learning about the Canada, Pacific Railway, the CPR, in, just its basic, the social studies course, but let's integrate the knowledge about using the Chinese laborers as a dispensable race. Let's begin to have that understanding so that we can begin to work towards healing and, together on a global front. So the $1 million question, not sure if it's a $1 million answer, but as we work together, I think we can make a difference in small and in large ways.
Well, it's gonna take a million hours to do it, but every hour, every minute will be well worth it because I mean, as cliche as it sounds, we are trying to build a better and more peaceful place and more understanding and more together and all the above. Catherine, I'll ask you the same question, but in a different form. Since you're the creative person here, or you're the most creative person in this digital room, or perhaps the digital sphere, in the sense I was very lucky to. I always make Sylvia laugh. Makes me feel good. Makes me feel like my comedic skills are good. So like, I was very fortunate. I think it was about 10 years back. I'm a lot. I mean, yeah, I'm showing my age here a little bit. That I interviewed Michelle Yeoh when she came to Malaysia. Even though she is Malaysian, she spends most of her time overseas. But I interviewed Michelle Yeoh. I was writing a column called "A Different Spin" for a newspaper here called the Star Newspaper, and I got into that event as the MC, and I also wrote for my article. And then I sort of interviewed her on the movie. She was playing Aung San Suu Kyi, a very iconic figure in global history. And the final question that I asked her, and I'm going to ask you the same thing in a different way. I said, look, what is the next step that Hollywood needs to do? And then she turned around and said, we need to sell them their stories. We as in Malaysia, because Malaysia is a tiny country that not many people know about. Whenever I go over the years, when I go to North America, Canada's a bit better, but American people will say, "Oh, Malaysia, the place next to Vietnam or Singapore, or is it that?" Whatever those kind of stereotypes. So like she said that, and she said that to me about 10 years ago. Yes, the world has evolved. Crazy Rich Asians, okay. The world has evolved. My daughter and I, our favorite TV show is Kung Fu with Vanessa Chow and also Yvonne Chapman, two Chinese Canadian American actresses who are making waves in the Hollywood scene, and they've been on Great People TV. God bless. I'm still waiting on Keanu Reeves and Maggie Q to say yes, but that's another story. Okay, but how do we make the content? How do we make the music? I mean, you've done a great step. You've done that song Yellow in Mandarin, and I remember reading the first few comments of the people saying, "Look, I don't understand the words you're saying, but it sounds a lot better than what the other guy sang." No disrespect. I hope yeah, no disrespect. So and it's true, it sounded cool, I mean, all I know in Mandarin is "putsutao and woman how," and woman how means let's do it together and win. So how do we do it?
Ben is half. You're half, right? Chinese. You
I,
have your mother's half Chinese, right?
She's got strong Chinese blood, yeah. So there.
Yeah.
So how do we? I mean, from your perspective as an entertainment professional, I mean, you're not just the person who's gonna rock up and write the songs and sing the songs. You're gonna influence. So how are you gonna influence the powers of be of the entertainment world? That, yep, you know, um, things need to change. More content needs to be changed. It's not just about Crazy Rich Asians and Kung Fu. And in this other movie, Boogie, which I haven't seen, it was about a Chinese guy saying, I'm more than an accountant and a guy who orders Chinese food or who delivers cheap Chinese food in North American communities. How do we? Because all this will help break the stereotype. Sorry if I'm being long-winded, but it is.
No,
I feel
great.
very
Yeah.
frustrated with this topic because that's how I got racism over the years.
Yeah, thank you for that very thoughtful question. And also that's so cool that you interviewed Michelle Yeoh. I love her so much.
It's great.
But yeah, I think I also ask myself this question a lot because I do think that recently there's been a huge uptick in Asian American representation in movies and in music. And I'm so grateful for that. And I just think back to when I was younger and growing up, I loved listening to Taylor Swift. She's still one of my biggest musical inspirations, but I always kind of felt like, oh, will people find a Asian American woman singing like country music or pop music, which is usually when you picture a country singer, I feel like most people don't picture an Asian person. I always wondered if that would be
Why
not
not?
genuine.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I for a long time I felt that pressure. And yeah, I think singing for Crazy Rich Asians was so life-changing and so amazing. And I continue to love to do music that reflects my culture. And I continue to love to um, sing Mandarin songs, like Mandarin covers of English songs, and vice versa, like taking the music that my parents grew up listening to, Mandarin music, and translating some of that to English and posting covers of that. And that's absolutely a huge part of my identity. I want to continue doing that. But also, I want the freedom to be able to, maybe release something that is just all in English or sounds very Taylor Swift and be comfortable with that because I think as an artist, it's it feels really nice to feel like I can be like a whole person instead of just being like, oh, she can only do like Chinese covers or like English covers of Chinese songs. So I think a big next step is just like viewing Asian American artists as like whole people and not just as a stereotype and having that creative freedom to express all parts of yourself, I think is a really important next step and something that I've only recently kind of felt comfortable doing.
Okay. Can I give you a
Oh,
little
wow.
tip?
Can
Can I give you a
I was
little?
just going to quickly say,
Gina, go ahead. Go ahead.
go ahead, Ed. My apologies. Oh, I was just going to quickly say that, Catherine, I think you are, everything you do is so amazing and flies in the face of stereotypes because,
Yeah.
Asian representation in media is a lot about the sexualization of Asians, the eroticization, objectification. And I see your authenticity, Catherine, and you aren't trying to sell, sex and yourself as a body. It's you. It's authentically your stories and you as a whole person, just as you said. So I just appreciate so
Thank
much of
you.
what you do and what you represent.
Yeah.
Sorry,
I
Ben.
agree. No, I agree. And what came to mind was breaking barriers. So, Catherine, you are breaking barriers, and it's historic because you're right. I can't think of a single Asian singer in the country genre, and maybe that's you. You're the first, and you're breaking through for the next generations to come. It's a beautiful thing, and that's why I said at the beginning that both of you are shaping generations because this has never been done before. You're going, you're blazing a trail. Ben, do you have something to ask? I have a question, but I'll wait for you. You go ahead.
Gonna say one more thing because I'm being a bit of a funny man here in a very sarcastic way.
Devil's advocate.
Yeah. But not to Gina and Catherine, of course, because I like to communicate in a lot of pun. But you know what, Catherine? I mean, I know I don't know you very well, and Gina, I mean, you're both inspirational. But you both should collaborate together because I know Gina, you do a lot of mental health work, and and Catherine, obviously, you're an entertainer. But the best way to soothe relationships and bring relationships together is, especially in Asia, is food and music. We Asian stereotype love our karaoke, but you know what? So does a lot of non-Asian people. So what I suggest both of you should do yeah, I mean, Gina, I know I haven't heard you sing, but you look quite talented in the musical department. You should sing, because like, I mean, everybody, another stereotype is that, oh, teach me, or when Westerners say teach me Asian words or Mandarin words or Cantonese words, and we'll always start with the swear words. But when I first, I mean, I couldn't speak a speck of Chinese because I grew up in an English household. When I started making friends from other cultures and other languages, I said, teach me the nice words. I don't want to swear at someone. and teach me how to sing like the nice Mandarin songs in the Wuhan province or in the mountains of Mallorca or wherever in Spain. So that's what I suggest you do, and then like maybe the first verse should be like lei ho leng leng chai leng loi, something like that, and then and then they'll say, what does leng loi leng chai mean? I say, that means you're a good looking person. And they said, oh, and then like in Spanish is eros guapa señorita. Oh, So I mean, language and spinning and all the right things makes people smile, and it's making you smile right now. So I think that's
Full
a
of
good.
ideas. I love it.
I think that's a good way to
Brilliant,
lead the conversations of change.
brilliant.
Sorry, that's just my 2 cents, Sylvia.
Love
I
it.
love it.
Love
Thank
it.
you.
Love it. It's just it's nice to let our hair down, Ben. And I love your comic relief. I've always said you belong on the comedic stage.
Uh,
Maybe that's next after Great People TV.
yeah.
My next question for Dr. Gina first, and then Katherine. As influential Asian women, what are you most proud of? In all your campaigning, or it could be, throughout your life, your body of work as an Asian woman. Yeah. So, Dr. Gina, what are you most proud of? And yeah, go ahead.
Great question.
I'm I'm most proud of hearing the Asian youth speak out. So this year, around Asian Gold Ribbon Day, we had an Asian Youth Mental Health Summit, and Katherine was part of that. She spoke, and was so inspiring for our youth. Katherine was also part of our Women's Mental Health Summit, and she sang. She actually did a tribute for our Michelle Go video tribute. It was beautiful. She sang live, Yellow. So Ben, we have been collaborating. It's like you knew, you saw it. It's in our past and in our future too. But honestly, for me, it's hearing the youth, because when I think about my experiences, empowering youth to speak out and to say things that I couldn't say before, and to really think and recognize that racism is the problem, not us. I experienced a lot of internalized racism growing up, feeling like something was wrong with me. And now that I'm hearing the youth speak up and say and talk together and, share their experiences, that to me is the most profound. And then my daughters are also involved in the Asian Gold Ribbon campaign. So I'm very, very proud of that. And we also have amazing support. I'm really proud of, we have support from Hennessy, federal government, being on Great People TV, like the visibility has been amazing because I think the need is there. And, connecting with someone like Catherine Ho, to me, like that's a dream. So
Yes.
so I'm proud of
Yeah.
so many things, and I don't know what the next year brings. The small, thing I want to add is that even though the increase in Canada and the United States has been shown in 2021 from 2020, the media interest has gone down. So in 2020, I had about 33 media interviews that I was involved with, and this year I was requested for about 6 or 7. So, and it's not because the statistics are down; it's because the coverage, the interest, the interest isn't there. And I keep thinking about things, but one of the things that I feel really strongly about, the word BIPOC, so Black, Indigenous, People of Color, affected. Um, I'm working to shift it to IBAPOC, so Indigenous as First Peoples, and adding so Indigenous, Black, Asian people of color. And it's
Yes.
symbolic
Yeah.
because we haven't been centered in racial conversations, anti-oppressive dialogue. We still sit on the margins and the sidelines. And it's not a competition for Black and Indigenous and whose racism is worse. Not that at all by any means. But, we continue because of the model minority racist trope to be seen as doing okay. We just, work hard, upward mobility, you guys don't have it as bad, but it's simply not true. So IBAPOC is, if we can get conversations and people understanding that centering us is equally as important, that would be something I'd be really proud of.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. And I hope you can bridge with the indigenous communities in Asia somehow. And yeah, no, keep us posted. Katherine, how about you? What are you most proud of? And what's next
Yeah.
after that?
Okay. Yeah, definitely. First of all, I just want to say thank you so much, Gina, for all your kind words. It's truly been such an honor to work together and collaborate on initiatives. And actually, what I was going to say is like perfectly dovetails from what you said. And I remember when we first connected last year, I just felt like you understood me so well. And I also had a very similar experience of internalizing a lot of racism growing up and not even realize I was doing so. And kind of just always telling myself I needed to overperform in order to be respected in the same way. And also, that I just wasn't as important as other people in society. Asians were just kind of meant to be on the sidelines. And so I had a lot of that internal dialogue growing up. And so I think what I'm most proud of is I actually screenshotted this one Instagram comment that I got right when the movie Crazy Rich Asians came out. And it was 26-year-old ABC, which is an acronym for American Born Chinese. And he had messaged me saying that hearing my cover was the first time in his life that he felt proud of his Chinese heritage, and he felt like the language was actually beautiful rather than something to be ashamed of. And so I really hope that in my music I can inspire even just one person to accelerate their journey to cultural acceptance. And it's something that's so near and dear to me as someone who only recently, I feel like, became really proud of my Asian heritage.
That's beautiful. With that, do you want to segue and sing us a little bit of your song, of that song, Yellow? Let's do it.
Oh, sure. Okay, putting me on the spot a bit. Okay, I need to grab my guitar. It's also disclaimer, in Pacific time, it's like 7 a.m. right now, so my voice is
Wow.
not optimal. So you'll
Okay.
have to forgive me
You do
a
have a
bit.
voice,
Oh,
But
voice though,
I'm
so
sure.
yeah.
I'm sure it's amazing.
oh, thank you. Okay, I'll do a little bit of it. But yeah, okay. This is my Mandarin cover of Yellow from Crazy Rich Asians. I hope you guys enjoy it. Is the sound coming through okay from my guitar?
Perfect though.
我想知道流星能飞多久，它的美丽是否值得去寻求？请月烟坠落在你手中，余晖成黑夜的彩虹，嘴边正月光的金发，正月光的金发。我幸福跳进你的河流，一直游到今朝，跳进你的河。我想知道流星能飞多久，它的美丽是否
Wow. Goosebumps. Oh, I got the
Oh,
goosebumps. Amazing.
always.
Wow.
Oh,
Thank you.
beautiful.
Oh,
That was Woman How all the way.
oh,
Yeah.
Oh,
stunning.
thanks for
So,
allowing me to do that. That was so much fun.
No, no,
wow. No, so touched by both of you and your passion, your inspirational activism, your leadership in the movement, your moral stand for what's right and for the innocent victims. And thank you for remembering them. It could have been just another newspaper article, another headline. and you've remembered them, you've memorialized them with love, and that's the most powerful thing on earth. So I'm so touched. Ben, do you have any other questions? Do you lovely ladies have any last words before we wrap up?
No, I don't have any other questions because these two ladies are just walking proof that change is on the way, change is happening, and change will always be there. So, and speaking about a story of change, I mean, it's really funny how we've all encompassed racism, all four of us, and it's funny how the world changes. And I just gotta share this story with all of you, even though my producer said don't tell this story, but I'm gonna tell this story. Um, we've all been given the chinks, the gooks, the whatever racism. I mean, I lived in a Western country once upon a time, and you said to yourself, "Look, will change ever come?" And here we are on Great People TV with Gina and Catherine, who are catalysts of change. And I told someone the other day. I mean, I didn't tell you this, Sylvia, but I got a job and I beat a lot of people from the typical Western stereotype the other day. And then they just turned around to me and said, "We underestimated you. I'm so sorry about that. You've got great skills and all that." I said, "And you're good at what you do." And I just said to them, "Well, the world has changed, and I've always said I'm Asian. My brain and my ears are bigger than my eyes." So, age, we can. I mean, so but I said, don't look at that. Just look at the ability of the work and don't stereotype. And as much as people say, "Oh, we don't do that, equality on that," that's that thing that we all have to break, and that's what we're all having this conversation about. And ladies, you're very much the architect of that conversation, and you're very much the architect of that change. We wish you all the best, and every time you need to come back and tell more good stories. Gina, if you're a bit low on your media visibility, just give us a WhatsApp, a message. Put you back on episode 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and more. Same to you, Catherine.
Thank you. So well said. Thank you so much, Dr. Gina and Catherine, for coming on our show. Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank you so
much.
much for having
Be in touch.
Wow. I
I
it
love
was
that.
important it was important for us to tell their story to the Asian audience because Asians here don't really comprehend the depth of what Asian communities are facing and the fear that has gripped them, to the point where, Dr. Gina was saying she's afraid to stand in the subway. And, others are saying they're afraid of, attacks on them, on their children.
Yeah.
And no, I'm so glad we had these amazing guests. It's been an honor. Ben, you summed it up so eloquently, and we had a great time. So I'm thrilled. Thank you so much.
No problem. No, I mean, if there's one person that deserves credit, Sylvia, and I'm not saying this to be nice and because you're my friend, you deserve the credit here, my dear. I mean, great job bringing these two very busy people together. I'm sure they don't just say yes to any interview, and then they said yes because they trust you. You're well respected in the world of journalism and in the world of NGOs that you do. So give yourself a big pat
Oh,
on the back, and I can't wait to buy you that long awaited makan makan and a million and one coffees when we physically meet with you. But yeah, can't wait. So good job, good job.
looking
Look, everyone.
looking forward to it.
we're
Looking
we're
forward to
very
it.
inspired by Dr. Gina and obviously Catherine as well, and the great work that Sylvia has done tonight. Please continue to watch Great People TV. Please continue to, I mean, if you haven't done so already, follow us on YouTube, like us and follow us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, and follow us on LinkedIn, on all our social media. But we're on Twitter as well, not, and we're working on that to develop that very strongly. So on behalf of Sylvia Yu, my wonderful international co-host, Hannah Ismail, who is not here tonight, but she will be joining us next month quite a bit. She's a bit busy with her other work, and myself, Ben Ibrahim, and the whole production team here at Great People TV. Thank you for watching our episode tonight. Confronting racism against Asians in the West. Be the change, everyone. And you watched it right here on Great People TV. Take care and see you next week. Bye. See you, Sil.
Bye bye.
Until
Bye
the next
bye.
virtual coffee.
Looking forward to it.